Welcome to Dolphin Dive Daily, your go-to spot for everything Miami Dolphins. If you bleed aqua and orange, hit that subscribe button and join the pod. The Miami Dolphins are stepping into their bye week with something that feels less like a pause button and more like one of those dramatic moments in a movie where the music softens. The lights dim, and the hero gets just enough time to sharpen the sword before the third act. And make no mistake, Miami is staring right at that third act moment. At 16-13 in an overtime slugfest against the Washington Commanders, the Dolphins walked off the field with a win, sure, but also with something far more valuable: opportunity. A quiet opportunity, tucked behind the rehab reports, the practice notes, and that cafeteria-level optimism every bye week brings, because now, suddenly, the Dolphins are inches away from what could be a rare double-dip roster upgrade, the kind that improves not just one position on offense, but two, without signing a free agent, without trading a pick, and without doing anything more dramatic than moving a few chairs around. In the offensive meeting room, all they need is a little boldness, a little creativity, and a willingness to look past the default decisions that NFL teams fall into when they're afraid to nudge the status quo. It all starts with Austin Jackson, a name Dolphins fans have known for so long now that it almost feels like he's been part of the team's furniture. Drafted in the first round of the 2025 NFL Draft, Jackson has been a presence on the right side of Miami's offensive line for years. Not always celebrated, not always perfect, but always there, durable, experienced, valuable. And after missing 10 games while stashed on injured reserve, his 21-day activation window has officially been cracked open. The Dolphins made the move before the Washington game, and Jackson wasted no time jumping back into practice. He's technically still on IR, but he practiced fully with the team last week, and now, with a bye week offering unlimited breathing room, plus another full week of prep before the next matchup, the stage is practically begging for his return to action. It feels like the timing couldn't be better if it were scripted, but Jackson returning as the right tackle is only half of the story. The other half, the one that could genuinely shift Miami's offensive line into a more stable, more flexible, more dangerous version of itself, comes from the play of a guy who wasn't even supposed to be the headline. Larry Borom, the current right tackle, hopped aboard the Dolphins roster quietly this offseason. He wasn't brought in to dominate headlines or to take over a starting job. He was supposed to be a utility lineman, the kind of veteran you bring in because you know he can play left tackle in a pinch, left guard if needed, right guard if things get crazy, or right tackle in emergencies. And guess what? Things got crazy, 10 games crazy, and Borom didn't just patch the leak. He held the fort down with something close to stoic competence. Week after week, he improved. He adjusted. And by the time the Commanders game rolled around, he delivered his best performance of the season. That's the kind of growth that raises eyebrows, especially inside the coaching room. It's not just that Borom has been solid. It's that he's earned something, the right to stay on the field, even when the guy he was replacing comes back. And that's where this entire story gets spicy, because keeping Borom in the lineup doesn't mean benching Jackson. Instead, it means sliding Borom inside to right guard, a position where, frankly, the Dolphins need a spark right now, and it's not like Borom would be learning something new. He's played guard in the NFL before, not exclusively, not recently, but enough to know the footwork, the leverage battles, the interior communication, and how to survive when the defensive tackles across from you aren't just big. They're miniature solar systems orbiting the center of gravity and waiting to collapse the pocket. The real curveball here is that Miami already has a right guard, Cole Strange, and while Strange hasn't drawn quite the same online heat as rookie left guard Jonas Avania, the game tape tells a story that Dolphins coaches surely aren't ignoring. Strange has needed more support than expected. Slide protections have shifted toward him. Double teams have been drawn up to help him. He's not drowning, but he hasn't been swimming freely either. And the consequences of that showed up glaringly in Miami's biggest offensive failures against Washington, and those failures came in the red zone, the exact worst place to unravel. There's the third and goal carry by Devon Achane at the 1-yard line, blown up in large part because Strange lost his block on Javon Kinlaw. Then the fourth down attempt by Ollie Gordon, where Strange got washed backwards so hard it looked like a wave rolling up a beach and erasing a sandcastle. Those weren't isolated mishaps. They were part of a season-long pattern where Strange has struggled to hold firm when Miami needs brute force the most. That's why this idea, moving Brome inside once Jackson returns, isn't just some fan fiction tweak to the depth chart. It's a legitimate path to upgrading the line instantly. It lets Jackson do what he does best at right tackle. It lets Brome stay on the field and contribute in a role that evidence suggests he's capable of handling. And it shores up the one interior spot that has been cracking under pressure all year long. It's not every day you get to upgrade to positions at once without needing an injury, a trade, or a blown assignment to force the decision. This one is sitting right there in front of Miami like an unlocked phone, with the answer already typed into the screen. The irony, of course, is that all of this movement would only be temporary. Once James Daniels returns from his own stint on injured reserve, Daniels, who signed a 3-year, $24 million deal with the Dolphins in March, is supposed to be the anchor at right guard. The big piece, the investment, the proven veteran. The guy who comes in and settles the line down with experience and consistency, but he hasn't had that chance yet after suffering a pec injury in Week 1. He's played a grand total of 3 snaps this entire season. Miami knows what it's paying for. And once he's healthy, his return will supersede almost any other combination the team cooks up. But that's still somewhere in the future. The Dolphins have to deal with what's right in front of them right now, and right now, what's in front of them is a chance to lift their offense with a clever, proactive shift. And let's be honest, Miami's offensive line needs that creative thinking. Jonah Savania has flashed some incredible potential at left guard, but being a rookie thrown into the deep end has meant he's often left on one-on-one islands the Dolphins didn't plan for. He's learning, he's growing, but the film shows plenty of rookie mistakes that are only more glaring when Strange is struggling on the opposite side. Aaron Brewer and Patrick Paul have been steady as the snap and anchor leaders, holding the middle and left tackle positions with admirable consistency. But that right guard spot, the one Strange has possessed for 465 snaps so far, remains the weak link in the chain. The spot defenses probe like scientists looking for cracks in a prototype. That's why this bye week could be transformational. Not in the way that blockbuster trades transform a roster, but in the way a strategic adjustment transforms a team's identity. Brome has settled into this offense. He understands the system now. He communicates well. He adjusts well, and more importantly, he brings a physicality that the interior of Miami's line desperately needs. Asking him to kick inside isn't a demotion, it's a smart deployment of resources. Miami wouldn't be benching Strange so much as acknowledging reality. Brome has earned the right to stay on the field. Strange has given enough shaky film to warrant a reevaluation. Jackson is healthy enough to return, and the offensive line, as a unit, needs a spark before the back half of the season begins to turn the screws. The big question, the one that might be making its way around the Dolphins facility right now, as coaches sip protein shakes and click through film cut-ups, is whether the staff is willing to shake things up. NFL coaches are famous for being cautious. With their offensive lines, they believe in continuity and chemistry, and letting 5 guys grow together through reps. They believe that disrupting the lineup can cause more problems than it solves, but sometimes sticking with what you've got is just playing it safe for the sake of playing it safe, and this situation feels different. It feels like an opportunity hiding in plain sight, waiting for the Dolphins to simply reach out and take it. Whether Mike McDaniel and his staff are bold enough to pull the trigger is one thing. Whether they should be is an entirely different matter. And on that, the film, the performance, the pressure rates, and the red zone failures all point the same direction. If they aren't already thinking about this move, they absolutely should be. Still with us? Then show some love. Hit that like button and let us know in the comments. What's your take on the Fins? This week, can you even imagine the scene? The NFL universe is buzzing. The rumor mills are exploding. And fans across the country are losing their minds because, believe it or not, something that nobody in their wildest dreams thought possible has just happened. The NFL, yes, the league we've all been following religiously, has apparently changed the outcome of a game. A decision that is now sending shockwaves through every corner of social media. Let's just take a moment to absorb this after a hard-fought, nail-biting matchup. The Miami Dolphins, yes, the Dolphins, have officially been declared the winners over the Baltimore Ravens. And the reason behind this reversal, that's still shrouded in whispers, speculation, and a flood of unconfirmed reports. But the fact remains, the NFL has made an unprecedented move that could redefine how we look at officiating. rule enforcement, and even the very integrity of the sport itself. People are calling it bold, outrageous, scandalous, and for many, it's downright unbelievable. This isn't just another replay review. This isn't a simple clarification of a penalty. No. What we're talking about here is a full-blown change in the official result of a game. Something that fans have been speculating about in locker rooms, online forums, and YouTube comment sections for years but never actually imagined would occur. And yet, here we are, watching history unfold in real time. And if you think the Dolphins locker room is calm, think again. Sources whisper that the atmosphere there is electric, almost surreal. Players are reportedly celebrating, coaches are still trying to process it, and the organization is likely bracing for an avalanche of media attention, league scrutiny, and of course, fan reactions that range from elation to pure, unadulterated outrage. The Ravens, on the other hand, are reportedly stunned. Imagine being part of a team that went through 60 grueling minutes of football, only to find out afterward that, in the eyes of the league, the scoreboard no longer reflects the story you just lived. And that's where the drama begins. Fans are divided, analysts are scrambling for interviews, and social media is a wildfire of conflicting narratives, theories, and opinions. Some say it's a long overdue correction, others claim it's an embarrassment, a precedent that could lead to chaos if the league isn't careful. The whispers are everywhere, from Twitter threads with tens of thousands of comments to podcasts dissecting every conceivable angle. Nobody is ignoring this. Nobody can. It's the kind of story that makes headlines for weeks because it's not just about the Dolphins or the Ravens, it's about the NFL itself and how its decisions can ripple across the entire football landscape. People are speculating wildly about what triggered the league to take such an extraordinary step. Was it an officiating error that went unnoticed during the game? Was it some obscure rule that nobody remembers anyone ever invoking? Or could it even be the result of a post-game review? A scenario so rare that most fans wouldn't even believe it exists. The murmurs suggest it could be a combination of factors. A perfect storm of rule interpretations, league office deliberations, and perhaps a touch of behind-the-scenes influence that nobody outside the NFL hierarchy could possibly know for sure. And as we try to piece it together, the reactions are as fascinating as the decision itself. Dolphins fans are, of course, ecstatic. Social media feeds are flooded with celebratory posts, memes, videos of street celebrations, and reactions from former players who can't believe what they're seeing. Every highlight clip is now being reframed under this new, shocking reality. Analysts are scrambling to recut their segments, commentators are updating scripts, and sports radio is nonstop, 24/7, debating the implications. Meanwhile, Ravens fans are in mourning, some tweeting disbelief, others furiously dissecting every replay, every officiating call, trying to pinpoint where it all went wrong. And let's not even get started on the betting world. Odds, lines, parlays, and futures have all been thrown into chaos. The sports books, some whisper, are already scrambling to issue statements, clarify payouts, and brace for an onslaught of angry or ecstatic bettors depending on which side of the spectrum you fall on. But perhaps the most intriguing part of all this is the ripple effect across the league. Teams, coaches, and players from every franchise are reportedly watching this situation unfold like a high-stakes thriller, trying to understand the boundaries of what the NFL might or might not do in extraordinary circumstances. Agents are consulting legal teams. Front offices are reviewing potential implications for playoff standings, tie-breakers, and even contract incentives. In other words, this isn't just a story about one game. It's a story about how one decision can affect the entire ecosystem of professional football. Rumors are swirling about what this could mean for future games, and even more intriguingly, for how fans perceive the league. Will this make fans more skeptical? Will it inject a sense of unpredictability, excitement, or frustration? Analysts are weighing in, some praising the league for taking action to uphold what they call justice in the sport, while others warn of the slippery slope this could create if decisions like this start to become more common. And the timing, the timing is perfect for drama. The whispers hint at internal memos, emails, and urgent league meetings that apparently went on late into the night, all pointing to a situation that, until now, would have been dismissed as impossible or unthinkable. Yet, here we are, witnessing a moment that could be a turning point in NFL history. And while official statements remain carefully worded, the leaks, the rumors, and the buzz around the story are anything but subtle. Journalists and insiders hint at conversations, debates, and even disagreements at the highest levels of the league office, suggesting that this was not a decision taken lightly. In fact, some insiders whispered that the decision was almost a last-minute call, a scenario where every possible alternative had been weighed, debated, and ultimately rejected in favor of this stunning outcome. And the fan reaction, well, that's a story all its own. Across social media, you can feel the tension, the euphoria, the frustration, and the disbelief all colliding in real time. Hashtags are trending, discussion threads are exploding, and the comment sections are pure chaos, filled with everything from celebratory messages to heated debates that often spill into personal attacks and passionate defenses of both teams. The media frenzy is intense. Every sports network, every YouTube channel, every podcast that covers the NFL is rushing to produce content, interviews, and breakdowns. Analysts are revisiting footage. Commentators are replaying the game as if it never ended. And fans are glued to screens trying to make sense of a reality that, until today, would have been unimaginable. And somewhere in all this, the Dolphins are now part of a narrative that will be remembered for years. A game that will be talked about not just for the plays on the field, but for the seismic shockwaves of a league decision that rewrote history. The Ravens, meanwhile, are left to process, to strategize, to deal with the emotional fallout of a game that, no matter how hard they fought, now lives in a completely different context. And so the story spreads, rumor by rumor, whisper by whisper, clip by clip, until the entire football world is captivated. This isn't just a victory for Miami, nor is it just a loss for Baltimore. This is a story about power, influence, rules, interpretation, and the absolute unpredictability that makes sports so intoxicating. People will debate it, write think pieces about it, and speculate endlessly about what really happened behind closed doors. Some will call it justice, some will call it chaos. But one thing is certain, the NFL has just created a moment that will echo through the halls of football history, a moment that no fan, analyst, or insider will ever forget. And as the dust settles, one question hangs in the air like a football spiraling toward the goalposts in slow motion. What does this mean for the future? Could this set a precedent that changes how games are officiated, how results are confirmed, and how fans interpret every single play? Could this shift the balance of power in the league, embolden teams to challenge outcomes more aggressively, or even spark a philosophical debate about fairness and the ultimate authority of the NFL? Rumors suggest that discussions are already underway, that meetings behind closed doors are scheduled, and that everyone from coaches to players to league officials is trying to wrap their minds around what this decision truly signifies. Meanwhile, the Dolphins bask in their newfound, almost surreal glory. They are no longer just a team that played the game. They are the team at the center of a controversy, a decision, and a story that is reshaping the narrative of professional football. And the Ravens, well, they are now part of a cautionary tale, a reminder that in sports, as in life, sometimes the final whistle is not the last word. Everywhere you look, the conversation continues, from fan forums to cable news, from Twitter to YouTube, from radio talk shows to locker room chatter, and the buzz isn't slowing down. If anything, it's just getting started. Because when a league as massive as the NFL makes a decision like this, it reverberates in ways that are almost impossible to predict. So here we are, caught in the middle of what might be the most talked about, most debated, and most surreal story in recent NFL memory. The Dolphins are officially the winners. The Ravens are grappling with disbelief, and the entire sports world is collectively holding its breath, waiting to see what comes next. And while no one knows exactly how this story will end, one thing is crystal clear: the ripples of this decision will be felt for years to come, shaping not just games, but narratives, legacies, and the very way we watch and understand football. The rumors, the whispers, the excitement, the outrage, all of it is real, all of it is happening, and all of it is a reminder of why we love sports, why we debate them, and why, sometimes, the story off the field is just as compelling as the story on it. That's a wrap for today's dive. If you're loving the content, share it with a fellow Dolphins fan. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a splash. Fins up!